and gentlemen, welcome to the Good Roads podcast and the Bulletin Breakdown. We are here with our two contributors, Mr. Thomas Barakat and Andrew Blackburn. Gentlemen, how is it going today?
It's going well, Jared. Weather's a bit warmer, and I saw the sun shining the other day. Can't complain.
Yeah, the snow's melting, and everything is right in the world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It'll be some good skating weather, like right around that melting point.
Yeah, that'll be terrific. It'll be good to get out of the snow for a little bit, and hopefully it doesn't show back up for the conference this year like it did last.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway, we're going to get into this bulletin breakdown. Thomas, Andrew, you both know how this works. One more time for everybody else, since this is our third episode and probably the last time I'm going to do this. We have three topics that are relevant and important to municipalities across Ontario and across the country for that matter. So anybody else listening, we got you. And we're going to have 5 minutes each for our contributors, our two contributors, Andrew and Thomas, to discuss these issues, let you know the ins and the outs and everything about it. So with that, are we ready to go, boys?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, terrific. Let's get started on our first topic today. When snow becomes a launch pad, this is a very important topic, very heartbreaking, and very specific to Ontario. Gentlemen, 5 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, thanks, Jared. Yeah, I'll get the ball rolling on this, and I'm sure Andrew will want to jump in at some point. But yeah, this has been not in my lifetime. I don't remember something like this happening in the past. But essentially, we've had a lot of snow, as most of you probably know, over the last few weeks, come down very quickly at some points, and this has been happening kind of on 400 series highways, kind of on on ramps and overpasses and that sort of thing. Basically, snow when the plows are clearing it is getting pushed up against the edge of the lane, and then it's kind of gets turned into a bit of a ramp. It's angled in a way, so when cars are coming down these kind of overpasses or off ramps, that sort of thing, on ramps, they're coming in and, sometimes at a speed maybe that's too quick, but maybe there's some ice there. And we've had a few incidents where cars have just flown off, this highway onto another one, which is absolutely crazy. This has happened 4 times in the past couple of weeks. And one of them actually was a car kind of vaulting off the 427 onto the 401. And it hit a transport truck, flipped on its roof, and somehow the guy didn't die, which is miraculous. And thank God. Unfortunately, there was another incident on highways 7 and 8 where someone was killed because a similar incident did happen. So, what's going on? Why is this happening? And the OPP had made a comment about this kind of being, driver error. But I think something we've been, talking about, and the media has reached out to Good Roads on this. And we're saying, well, this is maybe we need to be designing this like, a safe systems approach. You know what I mean? Our planning and design for these things should include that, like, this kind of thing could happen at some point.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that one of my favorite road safety, quotes that I've heard recently was Mike Pearsall formerly from MTO was speaking on a panel with our executive director at Roma, and he had as part of his presentation, he said, if something looks like a ramp, or it looks like something that a car will jump over, it will become one. It will become around it. That he was talking specifically about road safety architecture, because sometimes they are sometimes the design becomes kind of ramp-like. It's like, if a car can be vaulted into the air with that piece of road safety infrastructure, it will. That will happen at one point. And again, this is like, if you're creating a bunch of ramps on the side of this, it will become a ramp. And it's like, the same kind of problem with that. Yes, this is driver error. It's like, we've built these systems. Drivers will always make errors. We built these systems the best way we can to, when the driver errors happen, we want to, minimize the damage as possible. And I don't know, that kind of rankled me a little bit. Like what, here is the point of saying, like, going out and saying this, like, yes, these were all driver errors. It's like, well, of course they were. They're driving in dangerous conditions. It's like not everybody can make have a perfect driving when you're out driving in dangerous conditions. Of course, we don't know anything about whether they were
specifics,
distracted or driving too fast. We don't actually know that, but these mistakes are going to happen, and we've sort of made it so things can go wrong even worse.
And I was going to say, Andrew, and that's kind of why a lot of road safety organizations or advocates, including Good Roads, that's kind of why we advocate for the safe system approach or the Vision Zero approach, because that kind of approach, basically, one of the pillars of it is that people are going to make mistakes. Like, we are human at the end of the day. We have to build those kind of redundancies into the system, the road system. And that has to kind of take into consideration something like this, where it's going to be bad conditions, something like this. Like, again, I've never seen this before. Maybe it has happened in other jurisdictions. I'm not sure.
Yeah, when I saw this, it's like, it's an interesting aspect of this, because, like, you and I are both familiar with the safe systems responses, and it's like, okay, I never really thought about this. Whereas it's like, this isn't based on the road design; it's based on our practices, our maintenance practices. It's like, oh, we're creating some problems. Should we be building roads with more room? Or it's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, and that's our time, boys. Excellent discussion on that topic. And moving on to our next topic, sticking with the winter theme, we are looking at the search. Yeah, it's going to be one of those cold episodes. We're looking for the search for smarter winter road solutions. We're going to get started now. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll take this one. So this is a kind of like a dual story right now. As everyone, or as many of our listeners may know, there is a rock salt shortage in Ontario. So a lot of municipalities are having difficulty stocking road salt for de-icing purposes, which is perfect. I was going to use the word perfect storm, but it's kind of like the storm references. We had this huge snowfall, and throughout all the province, there's just been a higher demand for it. So we've had that examination of, like, where are we getting our rock salt? Rock salt. There's two reasons why we use rock salt. Typically, it's functional. It works. It's something that works specifically for a lot of the climate, especially in Southern Ontario, where we have this sort of medium freezing zone. Like, I've been learning a lot about this in this as these news stories been hitting the ground. Is like, okay, so rock salt is actually less effective as it gets down to colder temperatures. I'm originally from Alberta, and we use a lot more gravel out there. We definitely use salt for other parts of the years, but it's more of a combined approach of a gravel and a rock salt, and that's actually because of the colder temperatures. It's like to reduce friction. It's actually more effective to apply gravel. Now, a lot of our listeners probably know this. Some of us are learning this at the same time. There's been a lot of examination of alternatives out there. Western University researchers have been putting 9 alternative ice melting substances to test for the last few years, trying to figure out, because there's also been this debate about, if we're using rock salt so heavily, and there's environmental impacts to that. It doesn't sound like there's a perfect replacement from both a access standpoint and an environmental standpoint, but that conversation keeps going. I think they should ask Metrolinx, see how much salt they have. I don't know if anybody's been on a GO Train platform in the last couple of weeks there, but there's enough rock salt on those platforms to choke a horse.
Yeah, I was going to say there's probably enough, and you know what, we're maybe unfairly singling out Metrolinx here, but a lot of private sector, like private contractors, do that as well, and it's because they're afraid of liability. I know at Good Roads HQ, every time I try to, we walk into the office, we bring in so much salt. It looks like there's just like a sheet of salt, just like, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And again, people are afraid to get sued. Maybe there's something that has to be changed in terms of legislation or regulation to kind of absolve some of this liability or to reduce it, because right now this is kind of the issue or the rationale that we get from a lot of people when they say that. Now, Good Roads, we've had a Smart About Salt program or info kind of program that we put out. It's been, I don't know, a couple of years, but we kind of bring it up every year around the start of the season. And we kind of try to encourage everyone to reduce the use of salt and do it in a responsible kind of way. And the municipal sector does that. The public sector, for the most part, is good with it. But it's a lot of these kind of private sector people. Because municipalities are kind of when it comes to slip and falls and this sort of stuff, municipalities are regulated under the Municipal Act, whereas some of these private sector people they're actually regulated by the Occupiers Liability Act, and there are some differences in those two legislations. So that's probably where why we're seeing a little bit of that kind of disparity between the two. The public versus like the private sector on that. I think the real question, Andrew, is first of all, why are we using so much salt? And we already gave one reason, but the other thing is that it's so cheap. And it's, for the most part, everything else that's been tested so far, beet juice, all this other stuff, it ends up costing
various brines. Yeah, exactly. It's more expensive.
It costs a lot more. I think the real kind of way forward, in a sense, is kind of where can we use some of these other alternatives to make an impact? Like, maybe in some environmentally sensitive areas, we don't use salt because it's turning rivers and lakes into saltwater ecosystems and it's corroding bridges, that sort of thing. Maybe it's about being specific in where we're laying down salt versus some of these other.
I think it needs to be a lot more strategic. We need to be applying more, combinations of standards out there. All right, looks like our timer is up.
That's about time, boys. All right, good discussion on salt there. There's a lot going on there. All right, moving it on to number 3. And this one, I guess you guys have a little information from our good friend and former speaker at the Good Roads Conference, David Zipper. So we're talking Robotaxis or Robotaxis meet rural counties in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, thanks. I'll get the ball rolling on this one too. Thanks, Jared. I just want to shout out David Zipper. Most of you who were at the conference last year, and our listeners would know who he is. He's a writer. He's an academic, kind of think tank type guy. But we know him as one of the best conference speakers we've ever had. And he's always putting out interesting article after interesting article in this kind of transportation, infrastructure, urban mobility kind of space. But he actually wrote a very interesting article on rural mobility, which is not really something he normally delves into. He does at some points, but this is very specific. And you can check it out. We link it in our Good Roads bulletin this week. But essentially, he was in West Virginia, rural West Virginia, over the holidays, and essentially he says he was trying to kind of get around without a vehicle. Him and his wife were thinking about going out to have a couple of drinks somewhere. But they basically could not do it because, as most of our listeners from rural Ontario will tell you, probably too far to walk. Public transit is basically very rare, and then taxis are almost also, very, very not there as well, very scarce in terms of their availability. So he says, well, we just ended up staying home instead of going out. And he talks about how robotaxis could be a huge benefit to rural communities, right? Right now, some of these, obviously in Ontario, these are not fully legal to be fully autonomous, but in many US cities, you have robotaxis, but they're very much concentrated in urban and I think possibly some suburban areas as well. But he argues that these would be a game changer for rural areas. It would kind of help. It's almost like a transit on demand type thing, but it's not quite, I guess. But I don't know, Andrew, do you want to touch on maybe why that's not there?
The David's story, is it's anecdotal. It speaks to my heart. I think this is a something we might see in the future. But I like the framing here. This is this would be perfect in Niagara on the Lake. You know what I mean? This is I always hear about, I haven't done it myself, but I know a lot of people who have gone out to Niagara the Lake, and you go from winery to winery and you take your bikes. This is well, there's probably a lot of issues. But it's one of those things. It's like that's probably illegal. Going from getting tipsy and but it's just something that we do. But just think if you could just call up a little Robotaxi. I feel like if it was ever going to be deployed in Ontario, that would be the first place we'd put it. It's right in Niagara and the lake. But it's another one of those things that's come up in post-pandemic world where it's like we're traveling more within the province, but it's like there's all these little farm breweries out in Ayr. There's one out in Cornwall, the Wood Brothers in that area. It's like how feasibly would we go out there, partake, and then get back, because these places are out in the middle of nowhere. So like you said, it's an interesting conversation. It's a conversation that we are going to be we're going to have a little part of this at the Good Roads Conference. We're setting up a session on rural transit. And one of the things that a lot of municipalities are looking at is in various different ways is on-demand microtransit, and sometimes it's offshoots of different systems. I just saw the story that out in Halifax, they're looking at doing on-demand microtransit to reach the rural areas as an extension of the Halifax transit system. And I know that our panelists are going to be talking about some of these similar options that are popping up around the country as well.
Yeah, right on. And I guess like the finishing point or thought I would have on this is, there seems to be, I'd say amongst a certain group of people or some segments of kind of society, or even in this kind of space that we're in, and they're thinking, okay, the technology is going to save us. The technology is going to solve all of our problems. All hail our tech bro overlords. But it just goes to show that, if they're not making profit, they're not coming out there. And right now, that's the problem, right? They're very much focused on urban and suburban areas because that's where they have a dense population. And these things can kind of, these vehicles can kind of, be brought to scale. But out in rural areas, that's not the case.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of roadblocks out there where it's just like, we're talking about the practical things, getting to the winery and wine season. But what this past storm has brought up time and time again, and I'm going to go over the last couple of seconds here. The storm really had people stranded out in rural areas where they just didn't have transit options. Yep. Now, I recognize that rural areas and lots of snow is going to provide a lot of challenges for robotaxis. Hopefully we can overcome them in the years to come.
All right. And that's the end of that thought. Fantastic conversation, and a nice shout out to our previous keynote speaker. And I just want to remind everybody that we've got Dan Gardner and Missy Cummings this year, the 2026 Good Road Conference, and they promise to be just as good. So get out there, register for the conference, and definitely bring something home to your municipalities. So with that, we're going to wrap it up with something fun. We'll take a couple minutes, and I want to discuss the Winter Olympics going on in Italy right now. Canada is there, and the Canadian hockey team, which I'm excited to see, is ready to go.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
So first of all, I'm gonna say I watched the opening ceremony, and I haven't really. I've kind of just been getting the CBC notifications about what's going on. I haven't really had a chance to watch any of the individual events yet, but I am also looking forward to watching the hockey teams. Tough start for the women, 5-0 loss to the U.S. I got to say that one kind of stings.
Yeah. Well, that was their first loss, so they're playing again tonight. So hopefully, they'll probably still end up second overall. The Americans seem to be winning every game. They're the clear favorites so far in this tournament. But
who doesn't like a good redemption arc?
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
A little adversity goes a long way, and it's going to be a heck of a show for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's kind of interesting how these Olympics are deployed. Just from these conversations about winter, it's like it sounds like they've spread these out a lot in different parts of the area around Milan because they just don't have the climate for it, which is an interesting conversation. As somebody from Calgary, we were originally going to bid for this Olympics as a former Olympic city in 1988. This was a ballot issue in the municipal election a couple elections ago, and ultimately it was defeated. The city did not choose to do the enormous expense of hosting the Olympics. And it would have been interesting because today the high in Calgary is 9 degrees. So they would have been having the exact same climate issues out here. I know they got a lot of snow out in Lake Louise and in the mountains. So the skiing would still take place, but yeah, they would have needed to build an entirely new ski jump. So the ski jump, if you've ever been to Calgary, it's actually like part of the landscape of Calgary, but it is wildly outdated. If a modern ski jumper were to use, if that facility was updated, they would probably fly directly over the Trans-Canada Highway because they just like, it's the ski jumping is like worlds apart from what it was 30 years ago.
All right. And to tie this back into a municipal issue, you mentioned earlier that everything's sort of spread out in Milan. I'm curious about how they'd go with micromobility there to get people around from venue to venue. And if having an Olympics in Canada spread out a little bit like that might encourage micromobility or
anything. Hey man, we built an entire train line in Vancouver for their Olympics. It's
I was just going to say that already happened, right? Vancouver Whistler.
Olympics is a good public transit motivator. So maybe that's something we should consider next time the bidding process.
Good Road sponsors the next Olympics in 2030.
Let's do it up there. Let's talk to one of these northern communities. Maybe that'll finally get highways 11 and 17 expanded in the north.
Robotaxis everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. That's fantastic discussion, guys. Excellent for today. We'll wrap it up there. Just a reminder to everybody, you're watching this on YouTube. Give us a like. Leave a comment. We love to hear from you. Good Roads Conference coming up. We're, a couple months away now, right? Less than that, actually.
We're like, probably
a month and a half, March 29th.
Yeah. Early bird ends early March. Do not wait to get your tickets. That comes very, very quickly. And register now. And we look forward to seeing you at the end of March, beginning of April. So until the next episode, everybody, take it easy.